Welcome to Lesson 4 in Unit 4, River Rescue. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, how does the garbage impact living things in the water? In this lesson, students continue to research the problem. They research how the litter pollution affects other components of the river, such as the animals and river environment. They identify a cause and effect relationship between the litter and the negative impacts on the animals who live in and use the river. Students figure out that the litter pollution caused by humans has negative impacts on the wildlife and river environment. Students make connections to the storyline by continuing to research the problem they are trying to solve. They examine the consequences of human-caused river pollution. There are several opportunities for ELA and social studies cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 4 Teacher Guide. This lesson will take approximately 3 to 4 days to complete. You will begin this lesson by revisiting what students learned in Lesson 3. Remind students that in Lesson 3, they learned some of the litter can float and some of the litter can sink depending on its properties. Then, you will play 2 video clips on 2 different ocean dives. You will allow students to watch both videos once without giving them any tasks. Then, they will rewatch the videos to discuss their observations and make comparisons. You will ask students questions about both videos, such as, what did you observe about the ocean? Did you notice any garbage? Did you see many animals? What do these videos make you think about how pollution in the water affects living things? Next, you will revisit the driving question board. Add any new questions and highlight others connected to the learning goals of this lesson by calling attention to questions about why the garbage is a problem and how the garbage impacts the water or animals. If no questions directly relate, use prompts to build on student questions, supporting them to make connections between the river and animals that might live there. In the Explore portion of this lesson, you will set up the Garbage Pollution and Living Things stations. The detailed procedure for this activity can be found in Lesson 4, Garbage Pollution and Living Things Stations Procedure. You can pause the screen to view the materials that you and your students will need. You will review the investigation procedure with students. You will put students into groups of 3 or 4. They will record their observations as data on the Garbage Pollution and Living Things student journal page. There is also an opportunity to utilize a differentiation strategy for this activity. This activity can be done as a jigsaw or a group share by giving each group a different picture. Then, you will give the group time to think about their cards and present their ideas to one another. At the end of this investigation, students should notice that the images without garbage look clean. The living things are eating other things found in nature or swimming peacefully, and the images look clean and colorful. The images with garbage look dirty. The animals are eating garbage, or there is garbage floating near them. For the bird's nest, the nest is made of garbage instead of sticks. In the Explain portion of this lesson, invite students to gather in a circle to share their findings from their Garbage Pollution and Living Things stations. Use the questions below to guide your discussion around the question, how does the garbage impact living things in the water? Use the discussion to create the Lesson 4 summary chart. The goal of this class discussion is for students to identify patterns in the evidence they've collected to identify how garbage in the water environments affects living things. From this discussion, students should understand that garbage pollution harms living things. Students will also be able to understand that there is garbage in the Mississippi River. They saw that garbage impacts animals and the environment. Garbage pollution in the Mississippi River harms living things in the Mississippi River. In the Elaborate portion of this lesson, you will introduce the book Alba and the Ocean Cleanup by Laura Hawthorne. Use the Read Aloud guide to read Alba and the Ocean Cleanup. After the read aloud, have students pair share one thing about how human pollution affects other living things. This is a chance to do a quick check for understanding. See the assessment tracker for further guidance. In the Evaluate portion of this lesson, you will project the engineering design cycle. Students will use the engineering design cycle to define the problem and share their research and learnings about the problem of the garbage in the Mississippi River. Then you will have students return to their In a River student journal page from the anchoring problem to update their drawing by adding how the garbage affects other living things in the water. See the assessment tracker for guidance on this formative assessment. To support student sense-making across the unit, orient students back to the driving question board. Ask students, did we answer any of the questions on our driving question board? If there are questions that have been answered, remove them from the driving question board and place them on the summary charts. Use this as an opportunity to build a class consensus model to transfer the Section 1 driving question, why is garbage a problem? Then ask students, what new questions do you have to add to our driving question board? What questions are you interested in answering next? Students might say they need to figure out what they can do about the garbage in the river. By the end of Lesson 4, students will have made observations of different animals interacting with garbage in water environments and used cause and effect to explain how litter in the river affects animals. In the next section, students will begin to focus on possible solutions for the river pollution. Lesson 4 is the final lesson for Section 1 in Unit 4. This is an opportunity to refer to the Section 1 performance levels to summatively assess student progress for this section. See the assessment tracker for guidance on this summative assessment. The end of this section has an Attending to Equity callout. Have students use the self-check form to evaluate their own learning in this section. This is an instructional tool that can be used as a metacognitive practice for students to reflect on their learning, express their engagement, and excitement levels for the topics they have learned so far. This tool will also allow students to reflect on their science, identities, and community. For more information about this unit, visit myscipartners.com.